everyone, Game Brewer sent me Fuji Koro, so let's get it to the table. In Fuji Koro, you'll be exploring the volcano looking for your own sacred scrolls and the monks to help you on your journey. You'll be fighting dragons, gathering resources to make a helmet for defensive purposes, a weapon to deal more damage to the dragons, and sandals to be able to walk over the lava when needed. Once a player hits 30 points on the score track, the volcano begins to erupt. Lava will start flooding the board, making it harder to move without taking damage. When the volcano starts erupting, you will have 8 rounds left in the game to return to the center tile and make it out to the big palace, or through the secret exit that takes you to the small palace. On your remaining turns, you'll be able to take actions to gain huge points. Manage your actions with the remaining rounds in the game to maximize your points and win the game. Let's start with what you will be doing on your turn during the game. On your turn, you must perform 2 actions. There are 4 different types of actions that you can choose to do each time. They are move, explore, gather, and rest. You will move one of your action discs to the area on your player board to indicate which action you will be taking. Note that you can take the same action for both of those actions during your turn. Once all your discs are used, or you find yourself needing to rest early, you will move all of your action discs back to the left side, and then have the opportunity to craft. Whenever you rest, you may also craft as part of the action. When you choose the move action, you can move up to 3 spaces on tiles that are visible. Moving into a space with lava will cause 5 damage to your sandals. If you move onto a volcano tile that has a dragon on it, your move action stops immediately on that first space where you first stepped on the tile, and combat will occur. If you move onto a spot with another player, your movement will end immediately as well. Depending on the mode that you're playing, players can initiate combat if any one of the 2 players sharing that same space wishes to do so. If you are on the edge of a tile that is adjacent to an unexplored area, you can explore the volcano by adding a tile to that location. You will announce what area you will be exploring and flip over the top tile, matching its level and orientating it however you would like. You gain 1 point if you explore a level 2 tile, and 2 points for exploring a level 3 tile. After placing the tile however you would like, you will fill in items located on the tile. The square icon that is brown and silver represents a resource tile that will be placed on the tile when playing with any player count. You will choose the top token from the stack that matches the level of the tile you are placing it on. For a 5 or 6 player game, you will also add the resource token that's in a hexagon shape that has the brown and silver matching the same level type. If you are playing a 1 to 4 player game, you will ignore all hexagon resource icons. If there is a space with a player's color, a sacred scroll token of the indicated player color should be added to that space. If no players are using that color and aren't used in the game, you won't need to add anything to that space. If a space shows a dragon icon, then you will take a random matching dragon and add it to that space. Lastly, the monk icon will need a monk token added to that space. After placing all the tokens on that tile, you will flip any face-down resource tokens on any volcano tiles adjacent to the newly explored tile face up again. These will be available to gather again. The gather action allows you to pick up any item on the space that you are located on. This includes resources, sacred scrolls, monks, or magical blueprints. When gathering resources, you will take the indicated resources from the supply and add them into your backpack, and then flip the token face down. The starting tile and the 3 temples have permanent supply of resources, but only once per turn can you gather a wood and a metal on them. Sacred scrolls are also added to your backpack, and when doing this, you will take one of the 3 scroll cards, or one from the top of the pile, and place it on the left side of your player board, where it is indicated. Each of these cards will give you 3 points and a bonus ability. Some of the places on your board are locked until you gather a monk token that helps you unlock that section. You will choose which area on your board that you will unlock with that token. A monk can add a 4th action disc, open a slot for another sacred scroll, unlock the weapon grid for you to make bigger 2-handed weapons that also help you with increased initiative, or unlock a second backpack to make 5 extra storage spaces. Once the monk has been assigned, you can't change where it's at and what has been unlocked. When you happen to get one of the 3 different sacred temples, you can choose to take up to 2 magical blueprint cards. They are placed on the right side of your board in the indicated spots. The corresponding token will then be placed in your backpack, taking up more space. When you choose or you have to rest, you will return all your action discs used to your action disc pool. You can only do this action if you have at least one action disc in one of your action fields. You will then be able to craft as well. You will choose one gear type, either your helmet, weapon, or sandals. You cannot craft two types of gear in the same action. Again, your helmet is used for defense, the wood blocks 1 damage, metal blocks 2 damage, and the dragon teeth block 3 damage, and if magical, your green magical cube blocks 4 damage. Your weapon is used when attacking, and you will collect the dice that match the materials used for your weapon. Better resources used will give you dice that have a better percentage to land more hits. You also always need to have at least 2 wood to form a handle. If it's a 2-handed weapon, it needs to have 3 wood to be legal for combat. Your sandals will absorb damage from lava, which does 5 damage. Again, wood counts as 1, metal 2, dragon teeth 3, and when magical 4. Also, you can never walk on lava if you don't have sandals to absorb the damage. When crafting, you will take any number of resources from your backpack to change one of your gear types. Any number of cubes of that gear can be moved around to form any shape you would like that is located within the grid. When doing this, you will probably want to craft your gear to match the gear cards or magical blueprints. Whenever you craft a weapon that contains the pattern of a gear card, you automatically can claim that card. This card will be turned and slid under a slot of your choice on the top part of your player board. Now, whenever you take the action, you get the added bonus. The gear cards do not take up space in your backpack like scrolls and blueprints do. You also can only claim 1 gear card of each type of gear, so there will always be a card available for each player, but some cards might be easier to do than others. Magical blueprints are gained by gathering them at one of the sacred temples. They will be placed to the right side of your player board. Whenever your gear contains the pattern on the card, it will become magical, and you will place a green cube on the top of the gear. This magical cube has a strength of 4. Whenever the gear doesn't match the card, it will immediately lose the green magical cube on it. After combat, if your gear matches your blueprint again, you will immediately place the green magic cube back on it. Magical gear can potentially be worth a lot of points at the end of the game, so don't hesitate to craft these magical pieces of gear. It also can help you when you engage in combat against dragons. Remember that movement onto a tile with a dragon will initiate combat with it. Any other players who are on a space immediately adjacent to the same dragon tile can decide to join in combat and will be attacking the dragon together. Initiative will decide on who rolls their dice first. The initiative of each player is determined by the length of their weapon, and remember to add an extra for initiative if you have a magical weapon. The initiative for the dragon is listed on the dragon tile. After determining the initiative, place the dragon health pawn on the dragon health track of the value indicated on its tile. Now, everyone will take turns in combat by rolling their dice. Only if a player's weapon becomes illegal will they be able to retreat from combat. Again, the player will use 1 corresponding die for each resource cube in their weapon and roll them. The wood die has an average of 0.67 damage, with the highest being a 1. The metal dice has an average of a 1 damage, with the highest being a 2. The dragon tooth die averages 1.5 damage and could deal up to 3 damage. The green magic die has an average of 2 damage and could deal up to 4 damage. After rolling, the total is added up and subtracted to the dragon's health. Whenever the dragon's health is reduced to 0, it is defeated and removed from the game. Everyone still involved in combat will gain points indicated on the dragon tile, and a dragon tooth will be added to their backpack. If a dragon isn't defeated, the dragon rolls the indicated number of white dice. The damage is then totaled up, and that player must remove enough resource cubes from their helmet to absorb the damage. If a player loses all their helmet and the dragon deals 1 more hit, they are knocked unconscious and moved to the space where they entered the tile, and their turn will end. At the beginning of their next turn, they wake up and continue taking actions. Every die except the green one has an icon that shows a weapon damage on it. When a player is attacking, if it is rolled, they will remove a resource cube matching the die color showing the icon. Remember, you will need to be smart with how you build your weapon, because when damaging it, you will need to keep your weapon legal to keep on fighting. Whenever the dragon's dice is rolled showing the same icon, all players involved in combat will gain a white dragon tooth cube per icon shown and place it in their backpack. The final 8 rounds of the game are triggered the moment that any player reaches 30 points. When this happens, place the countdown tile between the player who just reached 30 points and the player to the left of them. From now on, every time the turn passes through that tile, the countdown pillar is moved one space on the countdown track. The spaces that have lava on it with a number will cause the spaces on the board with that number to be filled with lava. When the marker gets to the rope tile will be placed on top of the central tile, and the players can now escape the volcano with this rope. Nothing happens when the marker passes these rock spaces, and the last spaces is the end and final scoring occurs. When escaping through the rope, you will immediately go to the palace and claim a bonus by placing tokens on the appropriate track and score the associated points. If you escape through the secret exit, your bonus options are limited with only one space for each category. Remember, you will need to calculate how many tokens you want to place in the big or small palace and make sure that you have many turns left in the game to place them on those tracks to score those points. The big palace has points for each magical gear type. You will need to have the blueprint, and the gear will need to be made magical with a green cube placed on top of it for it to count for points. Extra monks that were gathered and placed in your backpack instead of used to unlock places on your player board can count for points as well. Dragon teeth located anywhere on your player board will also give you 1 point each without needing to take an action to claim them. The player with the most points at the end of the game wins. You do not need to escape the volcano to win the game, but it really does help. This game is a great hybrid of a Euro game and a miniatures game. This is a reviewer's copy only, but the deluxe edition looks to enhance the components to the coolest looking dragons and samurai minis that you'll see. The tiles are pretty cool. When you snap them into place, they all connect together and become one large tile. So if the game gets bumped or moved somehow, all the tiles are actually locked into place, and moving one will move all of them together. This is a great game. It is a medium weight game, easy to teach. There is minimal time wasted on each player's turn due to the choice between 4 different actions, and the theme isn't overly used. I also like how at the beginning of the game your actions are straight to the point, and after you unlock cards, you gain extra abilities, and you find yourself near the end of the game developing combos for points and calculating out what you need to do during the last 8 rounds while making it back to score the big points in the palace. The end of the game has a similar get out before the end mechanic as Clank. They did a good job developing it a little bit more though, and instead of just waiting when you exit, you actually have opportunities to gain a lot of points after you exit. You'll want to maximize your turns to get more points. You won't want to get out to only realize you have 2 tokens to exchange for points and then sit there in the palace twiddling your thumbs. You might want to instead use your sandal action that has the 1 point bonus attached to it and move around the board more, gaining some more points and then attacking one last dragon for 5 or 15 points before getting out through the main exit to get to the big palace with exactly 2 rounds left to claim points from those 2 tokens that you've had to score points. All of the mechanics work great and combine with a great theme to bring a great medium weight game with a potential deluxeified components with it. Also, this game can play up to 6 players, and finding a great game with these mechanics usually limits up to 4. So it's nice to have a game option of a great game that can play up to 6 players. And for all you solo players, there is a solo mode as well. Again, this is Fuji Koro by Game Brewer. If you like what you see, then go buy it.